Inside the Arena is presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sportsbook.
Welcome to Inside the Arena, your source for everything off the ice, off the court, and outside the field of play. With your hosts, KOMO Sports Director Niko and KOMO Senior Reporter Chris Daniels.
60 friggin' straight weeks. Wow. The big 6-0.
And we get excited about like 5 Mariner wins in a row. What's 60 Inside the Arena episodes in a row?
We're going for like hitting streaks here.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're hitting the ball in play every week, even though we're talking about what's not in play.
Yeah, off the court.
Like that.
There's some on the field and on the court. I'm trying to reverse our slogan on the fly. It didn't work.
Off the court, off the ice, off the field.
Yeah, so we're talking some on the ice, and happy to see Capo Caco re-sign and things like that. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, I like that deal just from a business perspective, not only for Capo Caco, one of the best names in Kraken hockey history, but also for the Kraken franchise. Just I think they hit the sweet spot on that number. Both sides did, and we'll talk more about hockey in this show.
Exactly. Yeah, that's just it. We've talked about how this is such an impactful summer for the Kraken. They've made some nice moves so far, and I would say arguably just as impactful as anybody outside coming in was retaining Capo Caco and the impact he had in the second half.
Well, and one of the things we like to talk about is what's going on away from the action, right, in the boardrooms. And there was actually a big event this week in Seattle involving the NHL that is the club business meetings. This is where all of the big decisions are being made about social media and marketing. And the Kraken hosted it for the first time in Seattle, all 32 teams represented behind closed doors, talking about kind of the business side of the National Hockey League. And you're going to hear from a couple of people who have been involved in that this week. The NHL Senior EVP of Club Business Affairs, Susan Cohig, and Allie Daniels, who is the Senior Vice President of Marketing for the Seattle Kraken. She is a sister by another mister. Yes, we share the same last name, no relation. She is also going to talk about what this event was all about and what it means for the Kraken.
So cool.
Yes. Yeah. But what we like to do every week, we like to normally start the show with what's good, what's bad, off the court, off the ice, off the field of play. Yes, this is Four Corners. We touch them all. What's good this week?
Well, it is on court, but it has to do, I think, with the impact off of it as well. How about that All-Star week for the Storm? And I think this is the brand of the Storm continuing to grow, and I think that it's something that's really special to watch. We get to see it up close, and certainly it's not just the Storm, it's the W. We've talked on this show about the valuations of all of these franchises. I mean, think about Lisa Brummel's investment, like how much that skyrocketed, right? But specifically in this four corner, I want to talk about Skylar Diggins. History, the first ever triple-double in an All-Star game, most assists ever in an All-Star game. She only didn't win MVP because Nafisha Collier had the most points ever in an All-Star game. And so I think you can still make the argument Sky should have, except Nafisha was the captain, maybe, I don't know. But the point here being this, there's just no denying the growth of this sport. And certainly we see it here in Seattle. We're so proud of seeing Sky do something of that nature. You saw Erica Wheeler, who wasn't even an All-Star per se, shining on the skills challenge. Gabby Williams, NECA looked great in the game. But again, there's so many things coming into play when you talk about this. And I'm so sick of the old tired narrative, like, oh, it's the no. You look at the valuations, look at the expansion fees, right? From the new franchises. You're talking about Cleveland and Detroit and what they're going to have to pay. And you look at how much that skyrocketed, something like 500% from what Golden State had to pay for their expansion fee. It's just really remarkable when you see it. And the growth is driven by the play on the court. And obviously, you'd be remiss if you didn't talk about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese in that equation, obviously. But here locally, we've got a pretty good product, a really darn good product, and it'll be fun to see how far they can go. They are capable, if they get hot at the right time, of making a deep run in the playoffs, and that would really be a special time in this city.
Yeah, all those valuations. That's why the players wear their T-shirts.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing, and it'll be interesting to see where they land. You know what I'm saying? Like, certainly they need to have higher salaries. I think you look at some of what these players are making and the way they're driving content and games and things of that sort. Okay, they should be paid more than that. But how much more? And that's for somebody way smarter than me to figure out.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see where that lands. At least you're seeing a lot more endorsements. And there's a new Jordan brand ad just out in the last week that from the Storm features Gabby Williams and Dominique Malonga. And that's really cool to see. Opportunities that maybe weren't there just a few years ago.
Well, and the part of this debate has been, well, hey, the WNBA and the NBA owners who helped finance this for so long lost money over the years.
Right.
Well, that's why the salaries were as low as they were for players. And we see this moment in time where everybody agrees. The valuations are up. The TV ratings are up. There's the Caitlin Clark effect. We're seeing that the play is better than it was even a decade ago.
Yeah.
And the salaries are still low. And it's shocking what Caitlin Clark is making in a league that she is now the face of, and what some of the Storm players are making. That is why they wore the T-shirts. That's probably a discussion for another day. But a great showing by the Storm, and it truly is amazing what has been done with that Storm headquarters.
Oh yeah,
it was just there again this week, and watching NECA just casually shooting the ball to herself. They got this big net that she's just shooting, just spits right out, just like the old pitches, in baseball, just up.
And
no,
there's
over.
And as you told us before, that one story, like the data that comes back just from that shot,
Yeah, it's just fun to watch. NECA is just so silky smooth the way she plays the game. Hey, one thing that's also good this week, that's also silky smooth, in a bit of a transition. What is going on with the World Cup? People are wondering, hey, okay, now we got past the Club World Cup. What's going on with the planning for the 2026 World Cup? And if you're driving around downtown, or you're walking around downtown, or you're taking the bus downtown, there's a couple of things going on right now that you're going to start to notice, and you're going to hear about, I think, a little bit more in the coming days. There are now a couple of murals that are being painted downtown. This is all related to the World Cup with local artists. 1306 Western, there's a big painting going on. You'll see people in scaffolding painting, and the Olympic Garage downtown as well. A couple of nice murals. They're going to take probably a couple of weeks to paint. That is part of what the World Cup Organizing Committee says will be the legacy from these games next year. It is just the artwork that you're going to see, the town be painted a different color. And this is one of those things that's going to get people excited that it's really happening.
Yeah, and I think correct me if I'm wrong here. I think I've come across some of these murals already.
Yeah,
and I think that you notice it, and it's something like, oh, that looks great. I think that obviously graffiti's been an issue in Seattle, and I think it deters that because a lot of the graffiti is artists, and they don't want to mess with, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's twofold in that way too.
Well, what don't you like besides graffiti?
I hate graffiti. Yeah. I'm that guy that, like, I see somebody do it in the tunnel, I honk at him like, hey, I mean, not much else I can do about it. Like, but no, I don't. Speaking with soccer, I don't like what's happened to the Sounders. First of all, I would have put this as my positive. I love the throwback kits.
Oh yes.
Those were fantastic. Well done. What I'm saying I don't like, it's nothing to do with the team. I just hate that they have two devastating injuries, that quickly. When it comes to, you talk about Steph Fry with that nasty collision a couple weeks ago,
brutal.
And then Jordan Morris in the game over the weekend, landing on his shoulder, having to leave and that sort of thing. You just hate to see that from a team. We hate to see it anyway, but this Sounders team, we talk about the Storm, the potential if they get hot at the right time. I feel the same way about the Sounders. And it's like, gosh, anytime they get rolling, something happens. Now they got 3 points against San Jose in that game where they lost Morris, but just hoping everybody recovers relatively soon. Not just for the team performance aspect, but for a couple of guys that have been great ambassadors for the city.
I think this is going to be one of those years for the Sounders where it's just all about getting in the tournament.
Yeah, and then see what happens.
Absolutely. And
they've
been lower seeds. They've been lower seeds in the past, and they've done well.
Let's not forget last year.
Yeah.
They were that close.
Yeah.
So,
well, I tell you what I don't like this week, and we talk a lot about TV and expansion and TV and digital rights, is the ongoing battle between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West.
Oh gosh.
The Pac-12, obviously, if you have followed all this off the field, has added Texas State now to give them 8 full-fledged members that play football, which they had to do in order to continue as a conference next year. Of course, the 9th school is Gonzaga. There have been all these questions about this whole process dragging out because of a lawsuit about poaching, a lawsuit about leaving the Mountain West. This has all been tied up in court. And now it appears that both sides have left mediation and said, okay, we're going to take this to court, which is going to drag this out even further. The Mountain West, which UNLV is now, and Air Force are now the flagship schools in that conference. They had their media day here in the last week and said how they're still working on a TV deal. There's so much uncertainty for all these schools at a time when college sports is changing by the week. And I think for people in this particular region, knowing there's some stability for Washington State and Oregon State long-term for the next 5 years is probably more important than what's going on in some of the other states. But it really seems like this has hamstrung the Pac-12 from perhaps adding a couple of more schools and perhaps finalizing the full TV deal, which is going to give a better financial picture for the schools.
Yeah, and this is the Wild West, no pun intended, when it comes to.
Oh, that was nice, though.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
maybe it was intended.
Yeah. Hey, can I just give you some applause for that? Yeah.
We've lamented this on this show for so long. Thank you. The idea that it's just not what it was. I mean, 2 years ago when recording this show, UW was still in the Pac-12, and like. I think we're going to come to a point pretty soon. If we're not already there, it's like, I miss those games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not excited about Illinois going to Montlake this year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, now, of course, there's marquee games like Ohio State coming here. They were supposed to anyway when UW was in the Pac-12. They canceled that series, maybe knowing that this was coming. I don't know. But you just want stability. And to your point about your negative with this is these are two leagues that are scrapping and fight. Just figure it out. They probably should have merged at some point. Right.
Yeah.
But,
well, Washington State's going to be the barnstormers of the Big West, so to speak, with a schedule this year where they take them all over the country. They go to the state of Virginia twice.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. They have Ole Miss in Virginia, back-to-back weekends on the road. And what's interesting is just here in the last week, Washington State has announced they're going to try and do some different things to get people to come back to campus because it's so expensive to get a hotel room. They're going to allow people to camp, set up tents outside the stadium on one weekend and charge people for a tent fee to be next to the stadium.
Yeah.
They're going to try some different things as well, just from a business and marketing aspect, because there was a drop-off last year in the amount of people that came back, and that had a snowball effect for businesses and hotels in Pullman. But hopefully they can settle it. You know what else would be nice to settle someday?
I know where you're going with this.
Does Bill know where we're going? The Supersonic Minute.
Oh, Bill is on it.
So not a lot of news since we talked on a week last week with a ton of news about expansion and where it's all going. Adam Silver, of course, saying that they're going to do an analysis. There's a couple committees looking at things, looking at the finances. Tangentially, I think there's some related news this week that the NHL is also talking about expansion. Now, keep this in mind. Vegas Golden Knights, they went for $500 million. The Kraken went for $650 back when they were awarded in 2018. Didn't begin play until 2021, which also could be a model for what the NBA does here. There is a report this week that the NHL is going to start the expansion fee at, get this, $2 billion.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea just how the NHL thinks they're doing financially to go from $650 in 2018 to 7 years later saying it's a $2 billion entry fee.
And they're still looking at Atlanta and Houston primarily.
Atlanta's got a deal which would make it the third time the NHL goes to Atlanta.
Definition of insanity?
A suburban arena. Houston talked about a lot just in terms of the southern exposure and the Texas market, Dallas being right there. But that gives you an idea of how the NBA is also looking at potentially an expansion fee and what that would look like and what would be the palatable number for expansion. But it does seem, and there's been more written about it here in the last week, that it's not just my perspective, not your perspective, what we talked about last week. That it feels like the NBA is kind of slow rolling this a little bit, and it's going to take a little bit longer if they do indeed expand. And
by doing that, it looks like they're trying to maximize their profit on it, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's raising the expansion fee, seeing what happens with these other sales, whether it's just trying to see what happens down the road with the competition between cities, even if Seattle and Vegas seem like they should be shoo-ins in that regard. So It's already been a tough 17 years, right? What's another 3? I don't know. I don't mean that number literally. I'm making a joke, but yeah.
And you just heard some people right through their listening device say, "Oh, Nico."
I didn't mean that. I'm just saying, like, nobody was over the moon about the commissioner's press conference that you were at. Now, I was tepidly optimistic, like, okay, like, he's not saying no expansion. He's saying this is day one. Now, that was frustrating, but at the same time, it's like, but it is still the start of something, and we can hope that leads to a good ending.
Okay, so let's talk about the team that is here, that just re-signed Kako.
Love it.
And the 2025 club business meetings, 1,300 people from around the country and really North America, including Canada, from all the teams in Seattle, 2,200 contracted hotel room nights. You are going to hear from an NHL Senior Executive Vice President of Club Business Affairs, Susan Cohig, and Allie Daniels, the Senior VP of Marketing from the Kraken, right after this very short time.
Something big is happening at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, and it's smoke-free. Their brand new non-smoking gaming floor is now open. Experience a whole new atmosphere that's completely smoke-free. More comfort, same excitement. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Book now and experience the luxury that awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Book now for an unforgettable summer experience. Visit snowcasino.com.
What is this all about? The club business meetings in Seattle.
Club business meetings. We have annual business meetings. All of our teams get together once a year, share ideas, best practices, network with each other, and think about the business. How can we improve it? How do we engage with our fans? And really, it's all about sharing how to do things better. And we wanted to be in Seattle because Seattle is one of our newer teams. Everyone's really excited to be here. Go to Climate Pledge Arena. It's been an amazing experience this week.
Yeah, when you talk about best practices, what exactly are you sharing? Because there's multiple offices under an umbrella at each team.
100%. We have ticketing, sponsorship, marketing, social media, data analytics, legal, finance, venue business. If you think about all the different areas of what comes together to bring our game to our fans, they're all represented at these meetings. So there's a combination of disciplines meeting, ticketing people meeting with other ticketing people to think about best practices and what they can do better, and then cross collaboration across areas. Gary always says everything's related to everything else. So these meetings are another way to break down barriers and get collaboration across the whole organization and across the league.
And when you were looking at Seattle in particular to have meetings like this for the first time, was it just because it's the new franchise and just because of the new arena?
It's a combination of things. We move it around every year. We were in Boston last year. We like to go east-west, sometimes Canada, sometimes a U.S. market. But Seattle was a natural one because a lot of the people that are here don't always travel during the season because they're at home building marketing campaigns, selling tickets and others. This is a great way for them to come to Seattle and see how the Kraken has just electrified the marketplace, visit a building that is phenomenal, and then go back and say, what can we be doing? What are some of the things the Kraken are doing that we can do in our own market?
It seems like having covered the league and the Kraken coming to town, that one of the big things over the last 5 years has been the changing technology, and whether that means the signage on the boards, whether that means the signage as it's seen through TV in a different way. What is the new frontier? What can people look forward to that you're talking about at a meeting like this?
Absolutely. Well, there's a lot we talk about, and innovation is one of the key themes of these meetings, and it's personalization in terms of individual fan experience. When you think about our virtual signage and digitally enhanced dasher boards and other things, that's a great example of, depending on where the broadcast is originating from, the signage around the rink built into the broadcast could be for an international feed, so the advertisers are for that. It could be a Canadian feed, so it's Canadian partners instead of US partners, so very targeted and focused. But then also when we think about ticketing and marketing and social media, meeting fans where they are. That's a lot of what a lot of people talk about here. Samantha Holloway, owner of the Kraken, talks a lot about it. We need to meet our fans where they are. So where does a fan get their games? Do they watch full games? Fans don't do it in any sport. They're not sitting down and watching full games without having a lot of other devices around them to see what's happening, looking at stats, placing bets, doing other things. So it's how do we find a way to connect with fans no matter what demographic they are, no matter what their interest is. So it's really trying to appeal to everyone that is touching our sport.
Game presentation is also something that's being discussed here. You have people in those departments as well. It really seemed like Vegas raised the bar, so to speak, when they came online. I know that the Kraken have raised the bar each year. They've been shooting movies essentially each year before the pregame. Why has that become such a thing in the NHL to make that pregame presentation such a deal that you want people to show up in advance?
Absolutely. Well, a combination of things. One, it's just the entertainment value when people are committing their time, their resources, bringing their families, making sure that the whole experience is really good. It's also creating that competitive home ice environment for the players on the ice. And the players will tell you when teams really do that and get their fans excited and they have a lot of different rituals and things that happen during the game, it can be a competitive advantage. So that's part of making it, helping the team win. That's what we all want to do. We want full buildings, we want fans excited, creating that energy that helps fuel what happens on the ice.
So you gave out some awards at this thing too?
We did.
What were the big awards?
Well, we have marketing campaign. They actually killed it. Nobody can be surprised about that. Utah Mammoth won. I'm going to have to think about, because I don't have the list in front of me. Game presentation of the year was Tampa Bay Lightning. Social media, Winnipeg Jets. And with all of the different submissions, we had 144 submissions, nominations that the teams across the league submitted. We have a panel of outside judges that will evaluate and pick the top 3 and then pick the number 1 in each category. And it isn't just all about what does it look like, who has the best submission. It's what are the objectives of a program? How did it deliver against your objectives? What did you learn? What are key metrics, whether it's revenue generated, tickets sold, other things, so that we can, as a collective group, learn from all of that. So they're celebrating that. And a really important thing coming out of that is making access to all of that material to every single team. So we're not only celebrating the 8 winners today, but all the clubs have access to the 144 submissions, so they can go in, look at all the game presentation submissions. What are the things being done around the league, and are there things that teams can learn from and implement in their own markets?
Where are you going next year?
I can't break news yet because I haven't told the teams yet. So we'll do a follow-up. So if you do a follow-up story working with the Kraken, you can say, "Wow, here we go."
Well, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. It will be another great market, but they will have a high bar. After these amazing meetings, the Kraken has done a terrific job.
Thank you, Allie. Why is this an event that the Kraken wanted to host?
And an opportunity to bring our peers to our city, to show off our fans and our community, show off our arena, to show how much Seattle has embraced hockey here is a fun opportunity.
What does the franchise get from talking with these others about what they're doing on a day-to-day basis?
The knowledge share is incredible. While we're really competitive on the ice, it's like a very fun competitiveness when you talk about the home offices. Our audiences don't cross over that much, and so we can learn from each other. We have similar challenges, even though we're all at a different part of our journey with our fans. We can learn from those that came before. We're lucky because we're still one of the newer franchises, so I can talk to my friends in Boston and in Buffalo and learn from what challenges they've had and how they've overcome them.
Where do you think the Kraken are ahead of other franchises right now? I know that's a tough question, but
that's a very tough question.
the pregame show, it's a movie. There's been a lot of research and development just putting that together. That's been award-winning.
Yep.
Obviously, you get compared with Vegas on their show all the time. But where do you think the Kraken are ahead of the game, perhaps?
I think game presentation for sure. I think we're so blessed to have the arena that we have and all of the screens and the real estate that we can bring to life in new and exciting ways. It was built into the arena. So while other teams are updating their facilities, it's our gift that we got to kick off our seasons with. And we're adding new tools to our toolbox every season. So even next season we'll have more fun things. So I think that's where one of the places that we excel.
And then you know this, that these are the kind of conventions that you want to bring to Seattle in terms of game nights and visitors. What does this mean overall for Seattle in terms of hosting something like this?
Yeah, our friends at Visit Seattle love this opportunity for sure. It's an estimated economic impact of over $3 million with bringing all the teams here. It sounds like over 35% have never been to Seattle before, so a chance to introduce this incredible part of the world to new people. A number of people came early, they're staying late, they're using this to kick off another part of the vacation. The waterfront that's just been finished, we like to believe that they finished it just for this meeting. We get to take our 5K down there tomorrow morning, and so a chance to really show off every little corner of this city to our peers and hopefully encourage them to come when they play against us this next season.
And how many room nights?
2,200, I believe.
With how many different people coming to town?
About 1,300 guests that are here from all 32 teams. So the fact that they're all here visiting us feels like such a treat.
And even though we're talking about ice hockey, it was nice and warm too.
Yes.
So how do you think the city showed?
The city really showed off. We took about 700 people to the Mariners game last night. We have all of the sports teams here right now giving a panel because we can all learn from each other. No matter what the sport is, we're all in a similar challenges along the way. But no, the city really performed well for us. 10 out of 10.
Allie Daniels, thank you.
Thank you, Chris Daniels.
So there you have it. I think it's been a really interesting off the ice year for the Kraken in terms of the changes they have made in the arena, in terms of marketing, the ticket packages, the TV approach. By the way, they just again were voted the second best TV production of any team in the league, according to The Athletic. So they're doing some great things off the ice, and it's interesting how they approach what is year 5. I can't believe it already for the
crazy. Yeah, and I like the approach from the standpoint. There's not a lot of teams that are lowering prices in 2025, and yet they're finding ways to do less expensive food items, lowering some ticket prices, and I think they should be commended for that, especially when you look everywhere else. We're talking about everything else going up. Well, the Kraken's recognizing what they want to do and what they need to do for their fans, and I give them credit. It's not an easy thing to do that, and they've somehow. We'll see how it goes in the fall, but they've somehow pulled it off.
Well, you know, they paid $650 for a franchise, as we just said, $1.2 billion for the arena. They were coming out of the pandemic, set a business model based on all of those numbers, and now here they are 5 years in, changing that math a little bit. It sounds like it's going to be better for the fans. You know, the one thing they do not have an announcer at Climate Pledge Arena, like one we know also.
Like David Lee?
You've been listening to Inside the Arena with Niko and Chris. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. Until next time.
Inside the Arena was presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sports book.